can tell Liverpool have won a game because look how many people have turned up. Look at it. Look at it. Scumbag. You lose. Make my clothes harder. Look at them all turning up. I can't believe it. Hassan, how you doing, bro? How you doing?
I'm good. First of all, I had to check if I'm actually on the football terrace or some different channel. I thought I was like on one of them channels, you know. I'm like, is this actually the place where we speak on football? That's wild.
Just helping the kids out because some of them are lacking, bro. They're lacking. I'm telling you.
I hear you. The second thing is the reason why I wouldn't trade that 7-0 for anything is because 3 months later, you're still talking about it every fucking post game. So I would not trade that for the world. So you can hold that. And I don't need them 3 points. I need that pain and forever. Now, third of all, today's game.
Go on.
It's okay. It's okay. The Jordanian Wi-Fi always lags anyway. Now, third of all, the game. 6-1. I can't believe I actually watched this, to be honest with you. This was a continuation from the second half against Arsenal where we actually turned up. We decided to play football. We decided to wake up again. I can't believe I'm about to utter the following words, but I have to give massive credit to Curtis Jones because today he had a great performance. No, don't clap. That's just one game. 3 games he's had that's been good. 3 games. So big up to Curtis Jones today. And Curtis Jones today showed us why we love and hate him at the same time, because 2 minutes after releasing the ball quickly and giving that Jota the assist, we are on the counter-attack, and then he just kept it with him for 15 minutes unnecessarily. Release it, brother. For the love of God, just release the ball. The forward 3, I love this forward 3 because all 3 of them can play football. No PNP merchants. All 3 can pass. All 3 can shoot. All 3 can create, at least at a respectable level. So I love that about the game. And here's the thing. Look, this is about the future now, because this season, no matter what happens, even if we miraculously somehow get top 4, which I don't think is going to happen, if somehow that happens or whatever comes of this season, the point is the last half against Arsenal and today's game shows me that there is a future for Jurgen Klopp at this football club, that it's not all dead and buried like people act. It's not like all over and we must get some random Portuguese guy who's 40 for who manages Sporting Lisbon, just so, you know, we satisfy the lust of having a young manager for certain people, you know. Always keep the elite manager, let him figure it out. I am 100% confident we give Jurgen Klopp 3 midfielders in the summer, we give him 1 center back to deal with, and that's it, and we're good to go. I don't think we need, like, you know, a build from scratch. I don't need all of this. And my final point is, this is why when I've come on the terrace before and on spaces and everywhere I do content, I always defend the class players. Trent, Van Dijk, Robertson, maybe don't defend him as much, but, you know, Fabinho, Thiago, Salah. The reason why, hear me out, Tom. The reason why I defend these guys is my logic, my theory is very simple. Surround the good players with other good players, and then we take it from there. If they're still crap after being surrounded by other good players, then we'll have conversations about sell them. I've seen people who sell Salah, sell Van Dijk, sell... No. There's no need to sell any of these guys. Just keep them, surround them with other good players, and we take it from there. And for me, it is more an indication of the future of Liverpool Football Club, the last half against Arsenal and today, that there is a world in which Liverpool do get back to the mountaintop. We just need to get this summer right, and that's it. But I'm happy to be here. I
cannot believe your shamelessness with that Robertson then.
I
cannot believe it.
Yeah.
This season. Here we go. Here we go.
How many weeks in a row was I hearing?
Let me ask a question. So none of you here are really looking at this first 37 minutes or before you scored the goal and thinking, is it the same way now? We're not creating chances. You didn't create chances.
You know I am.
You were brilliant. You were no. I'm just asking the question because
all the time. But you know, we won 6-1.
I'm here to ask the questions. Like for real.
Mo, you got Benfica to worry about in 2 days. Why you
worry about my club? This is a Liverpool.
Why you worry about Liverpool?
This is a Liverpool show.
Why you worry about Liverpool this much, bro? You come all over from Italy.
You got my Egyptian guy. You got my Egyptian guy scoring 2 today. I'm happy for him.
He scored 2.
I'm happy.
And you know, thank you for telling me that, Terry. Before I go, you know, see this Mo Salah disrespect. No, because people have to be addressed with this shit.
Here we go.
You see this Mo Salah disrespect. This man has 1 goal less better than Mbappe Rashford, has, I think, 2 goals less than Saka, and this guy's playing in a dysfunctional shit Liverpool side. This is why the Mo Salah disrespect need to relax. Yes, he's had bad games. No one has denied that. Yes, he's needed to step up multiple times, but he's still scoring goals in the shit Liverpool side. He's still here. He's still here. He ain't going nowhere. This ain't FIFA, where as soon as the guy hits 30, you sell him. He's still good to go for the next 3-4 years. He's going to score plenty of goals for us. Just get us midfield, for the love of God.
Like Robertson, yeah?
Listen, guys, it's me after this one. We ain't gonna do this in front of Terry and Mo either. Let's not do this.
No,
here.
I'm not having it. No,
I want to add something about Mo Salah. Let's add something about Mo Salah for real. Mo Salah has 22 goal and assists this year in a really dysfunctional Liverpool, the same amount as Saka. This is the thing. It's not because I'm Egyptian. It's just numbers don't lie. You just can look at the internet. It's just simple. Just go to the internet and look at the numbers. He misses chances, yes, but he scores goals. It's as simple as that. So people are saying, "Oh, get me back Mane. Salah can play football." Do you watch Bundesliga? Do you see Mane playing for Bayern Munich?
I watch Bundesliga. He's been shocking for Bayern Munich.
The thing is, right now. I've always defended Mo Salah, and as much as Liverpool fans get on at me, I've been probably one of his biggest. I was probably shouting more about him being as good as he is for you lot when Liverpool fans weren't even doing it 2, 3, 4 years ago. I don't think he's had his best year overall performances, but because he's world class, he still delivered the numbers. And at the end of the day, I am calling Johnny out for saying this, but there's a lot of people like him that say things like, and I'll put his accent on, and he goes, "I'm not moved. I'm not moved by GA. GA don't mean nothing to me." The problem is when you have no GA and just technique, you're Chelsea in 11th or 12th. And Mo Salah, if he wasn't good at GA, where the hell would you guys be this year? You wouldn't even be.
He's got 34 in all comps for us.
Mate,
34.
Like GA, people go, it doesn't mean anything. Someone I actually also saw, it was Johnny, to be fair. I didn't think it was until I remembered. He said that like no one thinks about GA when they think of Lionel Messi. I'm like, yes, they do. He is celebrated for how many goals and assists.
19 a year.
If you took away
90 goals in calendar year.
If you took away 2/3 of Messi's goals and assists, he'd still be world class, but he wouldn't be this alien from another planet that everybody loves. It's the combination of the two things. And imagine in a bad year, you're still one of the top 5 goal contributing forwards in European football. If it's in European football, it's the top 5 in the world. And like Mo Salah is just world class. He's an absolute. I think he's not just Liverpool's greatest Premier League player. I think if he stays for another 3 or 4 years, I think he'll be going into Premier League conversations as one of the great.
Have a day off, Terry, man. Liverpool's greatest Premier League player. Relax.
I think he is. I think
you know you're smart at this. You just want to win the wars. I ain't Tom Little, bro. We only have one greatest Premier League player. One greatest Premier League player, wore the number 8 for 20 years. You know, carried us to a Champions League, won the FA Cup on his own, done all of that shit for us.
By the way, I was going to ask you.
By
the way, guys, wait, very quickly. Have you guys seen the nominations for the Player of the Year award this year?
No. It's not the Player of the Year, guys. Wait,
sorry, Team of the Year. Have you seen the nomination?
No. It's the FIFA. It's based on a FIFA. This is not the EA. This is the FIFA. People were confused.
You tried it, Terry.
It's the FIFA.
It's not official. It's all about.
It's not official.
FIFA one, bro.
I got caught out by it because I was listening to the kids online, and I'm like,
yes, exactly, Terry.
I couldn't understand why Kai Havertz was on it. It made no sense to me.
It's the FIFA.
Nathan Ake is not on it, Terry. Nathan Ake is not on it.
No, I was looking at it. And I was thinking to myself, football's dying here, and I wanted to ask people about it because it was crazy. But
football ain't dying. FIFA, the game, is dying. That's why I ain't bought it.
Again, I'm 37 years old. Man like me, I ain't got time for computer games. You know what I mean? I'm out here doing my bizzo, but yeah, there we go. It's one of them ones. But no offense to older people that play it, I just ain't got time. Once I finish streaming and I've taken care of the missus, you know what I mean? It's time to sleep, bro. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them ones. One of them. But there we go. I'm going to get smacked in a minute. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to wish I had a heart attack. Do you know what I mean?
You could have left that last sentence out, but you still said it.
I just meant like prepping some food for tomorrow and making sure she's cut. Like, don't. You dirty mind rat.
Wow.
It's crazy. A question for you all, because I don't know if we need to review the whole game. I want to talk about a few specific elements. We'll come to a question about the Europa League in a minute. But Trent's new position. I'm going to go to G first on this. G, is that the future now for Trent?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to need to play there because defensively, as you said before, he isn't really that kind of guy. So Liverpool need to put him in a position whereby you can negate his defensive, just kind of like the things that he has to do defensively, anything that he needs to do going back towards his goal. You don't really want him doing that. So you want him in the opposition half, being able to pass the ball. But even tonight, I don't know, man. I think like when we watched the game tonight, everyone, said like the performance was great. And you mentioned the performance being like this fantastic kind of thing. I don't feel like it was that great. Like I feel like he was good. He was very, very good to like 100%. Like I don't feel like, he wasn't shit or anything like that. But I feel like we go a little bit overboard because of how in the mud Liverpool are in that midfield area. Anything that looks good, we automatically then say, yeah, straight away, yeah, this is amazing. We've got to go with this, blah, blah, blah. Mo mentioned before, did nobody speak about Liverpool prior to us scoring? I'm sorry, but even in that period of time, Trent didn't look that great to me. Do you know what I mean? It didn't look like, he was amazing. But his performance overall obviously was good. But his assists were coming from positions that we know where he usually plays, which is on that right-hand side. Do you know what I mean? The goal for Gakpo, that came on the right-hand side. They didn't come through the middle. Do you know what I mean? So he's still getting in those areas. But when you're telling him to maybe negate his defensive, what do you call it? Responsibilities. When you're telling him, okay, you don't need to defend as much because we're going to have Konate potentially doing that role. He's a little bit more free. And I feel like it's just him having freedom. I think that's what Klopp's done. But then you've also got to understand that the back three now, they've also got a new role and stuff like that. We saw with Konate. Konate, fantastic defender. But ask him to play football, he can't do that. So maybe Liverpool are going to have to maybe look at something there, because when you're asking him to play football, he's not really good at doing that. Ask him to defend, he's got that all day in his locker. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about just changing. We'll see what happens in the future. But going forward, as long as Liverpool still buy midfielders, I don't really care where you play Trent. As long as we still get the midfielders in, I don't really feel like he's the answer. I feel like he's the option. I don't feel like he's the answer, though.
I think when you...
Can I add a comment before we go? Just one comment quickly. I think today Jurgen Klopp accommodated Trent. He changed the formation to accommodate him, which tells you a lot about how he appreciate this player and his ability to change your whole formation to accommodate one player, and he delivered, right? Didn't he get 2 assists and he got one of the best players on the team? So it speaks a lot about how Jurgen Klopp sees this guy. He doesn't want to bench him. He would rather change the formation for this guy to play.
You see, but the things with Trent though in that middle, I feel like the sample size is quite small, because if you look at the Arsenal game and you look at the game this evening, Arsenal sat back and let us have the ball. Mark Roca and McKennie, they weren't really pressuring him. They were letting him have the ball. I'm interested to see Trent up against a more high-octane, industrious midfield, because when they're actually swarming him and he doesn't have that amount of time, will we be seeing a performance like this? I don't want to take anything away from him. He was excellent tonight. But against a more industrious midfield, I'm interested to see how he does. But take nothing away from the performance. I think first half, we were going a bit overboard, like G said, but second half, he was sublime. I've got no qualms with his performance.
I think when you want to put Trent in midfield, you're going to have to accommodate him so much. And it's just the question whether do you really want to accommodate that much? Because me and JJ have had this conversation about Trent and where we should put him. And if you want to play him in like a double pivot, you're going to have to accommodate so much to him. And once that accommodation is figured out, what are we going to do from there? Because
it could take away from other areas.
Hang on a minute though. When you played him at right back and you guys are at your best, he never played at right back. He spent most of his time. You go back and look at his stats. 80% of his time he was playing like a winger was. So somebody was having your midfielder then had to accommodate and cover the right back role defensively. This, like, honestly, like, I'm not a tactico. Those guys are weird, right? But you start a game 4-3-3. Players don't stay in those positions. Bruno Fernandes and KDB on the when you look at the
formation before the game,
play different positions. But look at their heat maps; they're almost identical. That's what it's about. It's around positions people will take up. And I get what you say about Trent if he gets pressured. But then what you guys have got to do is create a situation where he's the extra man and then can dictate as a deep line playmaker, because that is what he is. He is a playmaker. He isn't a defender. He's a playmaker. So you've got to create, like for me, when you've got a man who can pass and move a ball like him, you have to create a system where he's he's unable to do that. Does that make sense? Like that's how
What-
it feels
can I-
from the outside in.
Can I ask you
I
guys
disagree.
something?
Honestly, I really think you're making a mountain out of a molehill. I just think what City done for ages with Cancelo, where they just let him move into midfield. That's all we have to do. Me personally, I still want him to go and defend as a right back. I still want him when teams are attacking us to go back to right back and defend because
Who?
I cannot be bothered.
Who?
I can't. Trent. I still
Why?
want
He
him to-
can't do
He
it.
can't,
Why?
bro. He can't.
right, okay.
He
Let's say
can't
we,
defend.
let's say we put Trent in midfield. He's defended as a right back for the past 6 years of his career. It is a completely different style of defending as a right back to a centre mid. So he would require even more training in an area that he's not fantastic at to learn to defend as a midfielder. I'd much rather keep him at right back and just give him more support around him and let him on an attacking end move into midfield, like how City done with Cancelo.
Are you
And we
sure?
still
You're,
have the man
you
over
sure
loan.
you're not an Everton fan? Are you an Everton fan?
No, it's basics. It's basics.
No, but okay.
Let me
He's not
give
a
you
great
two
defender, he's
examples.
not a bad
Two
defender.
examples on the history of football where players were smart: Javier Zanetti and Philip Lahm. Even later in their career, I'm not comparing to Trent is 24. You never know where Trent is heading, right? Trent might be one of the smartest players you see, right? They were moved to midfield and they adapted. If Trent is the system is built around him and you get the right players to have him as a free man, as Terry said, he might be a good midfielder as well. Philip Lahm was not the
he
biggest
becomes
in
the
the
free
midfield.
man now. That's the point. He becomes the free man now because we are able to overload because we still have the 3-man midfield in whatever shape that ends up being, and Trent is able to move into midfield, be a 4th man, overload it.
But you need a midfielder that run like Henderson, Tom. You need another midfielder that will run to cover that side like Henderson did for the last 4 years.
Henderson doesn't do that right now, and we're fine with it right now because we use Konate for that.
And also, finding another Henderson is much more difficult than finding another Trent. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, this season has been shocking, but we've seen when Liverpool have been good over the last kind of 3 or 4 years. Okay, Trent has his deficiencies in terms of one-on-one defending, but ultimately you want Liverpool to be a front foot, forward, a ball-playing, attacking team that dominates the ball, dominates position, creates chances, and limits the amount of opportunities and limits the amount of possession that the opposition have. That's what Guardiola does. That's what Klopp has done in recent seasons. Obviously, this season aside, and that's what we want to get back to. So, okay, sure, he will have deficiencies, but what he gives you, if you're playing in that system, as he's already shown, already demonstrated, is that he's a match winner for us. He's a difference maker for us in that position. I don't really want to see him go into the midfield. Like, he's not even really playing, like G said it, he's not really playing as a midfielder, traditional midfielder.
Yeah.
He's moving around.
He's doing what Zinchenko does at Arsenal. What Zinchenko does. Listen, nowhere near as good, by the way, as playing the ball. But AWB's improved since he's come inside and is more midfield than he is ruling down the wing. Now, he can't pass the ball like Trent. I'm not saying he can. We use him in a different way. But I agree. I honestly think this is where Trent's future lies because
I was gonna ask you, Terry, just as everyone here actually watching that game tonight, for example, what did you see that was different with Trent coming into that middle of the park? Like, what did we see that was like, okay, you know what? The way that Liverpool are playing now is a bit different. We're playing a different kind of style. Trent's coming into the middle. We're doing this, we're doing that. As Mo said, literally early on in the stream, that first 37 minutes, that was like watching any other game I've seen of Liverpool this season. The passages of plays, the patterns of play, the build-up is still slow, it's still boring. Until we get that goal, once we got that goal, Leeds, you can just see it in Leeds' performance. Like, they just went down straight away. Anybody else, I don't think that would necessarily happen. We kind of saw it in other games, but when we were watching the game tonight, we won 6-1. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? But when it got to 3-1, I think the game was already done. Leeds were already done and dusted. But I didn't see anything from Trent playing in this new position. I didn't watch it and think, you know what? All of a sudden now, Liverpool are playing better football. We're quicker on the ball. We're doing this. We're doing that. It was the same boring football against a shit team. We scored at the right moments in time. I'm not trying to dismiss, by the way, what Trent done because he did play good. And that's the funny thing. He played good in himself, and so did a few other players. But I'm not seeing anything different. Like Trent's been doing this, coming into the middle. Just quickly, the only difference between Trent now and before is that he's actually allowed to do this now. He wasn't allowed to do this before. Before, it was all about being able to get in those positions every now and again. Now he's actually allowed to, you know what, you can stay in that sixth position. Do you know what I mean? He's been given that license. That's the only difference. I'm not seeing anything different in the way that Liverpool are playing moving forward. But again,
I'm seeing trust from the midfield. I'm seeing us being able to actually use the midfield area, use the middle of the park to build up play, which is something we haven't been able to do for absolutely ages. How many times this season have we watched Henderson, Milner, Fabinho, any combination of midfielders, Keita, chuck Ox in there if you want, whoever. You chuck them midfielders in there, there's no trust. So we just end up playing long ball. Trent in there gives an element of control. And even then, his range of passing is something that we desperately need in that midfield area. Him sitting,
but need it for what though, Tom? To do what?
To open up the play. To open up the play. But I'll put it simply. Thiago isn't as good at the long passing. Thiago is much better at the short passing.
But my question on
I just want to answer what G said for a minute, and then I'm going to go to Mo and I'll go to you, Ram. I agree there wasn't a huge deal of difference, but I don't think that's about Trent. So I think Trent looked better.
Yeah.
You need, and I was making a note while you were writing because I want to make sure I answered it properly. I look at like Jota. I don't know how much of a future he's got at Liverpool, but you need someone better than him in that position. What you didn't have anybody doing tonight was doing what you need someone that wants to do what Rashford does. Run off that shoulder. That'll be a player for him to aim at. It will also pull the lines of two teams apart. You need another new midfielder, I think, as well, who is a top-level baller, someone that can break lines himself. You add that into the mix, and maybe a new right back. If Trent goes into midfield solely, then a new right back that gets forward potentially as an example. Those two or three things can really help sort of disorganize your opponents, break things up, and give Trent time on the ball. When you give Trent time on that ball, he can literally take you from one side of the field to the other with one pass, balls over the top to a striker running off the shoulder, and then through space created by the new midfield, again, feeding the ball into the right-hand side. Then I think you'll see a real difference in the dynamism. So I agree with you completely. This isn't like, wow, you look like a new team, but I look at Trent and think, I'm not saying build the team around him. Maybe that's a little bit extreme, but I think he could be a real asset moving in more centrally rather than being out on that right-hand side where maybe you've just been a little bit figured out. Maybe just a little bit.